Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 611. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whelan, drnorge. I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, the Duke of the Sultan of Strategery, the indestructible bridge-defying. Sean released a raccoon in my house, promising that it would be a friend for me on my many new adventures, but my coffee table says otherwise. So says the elder statesman of the podcast, Segulin.
How's it going, hey?
Jim, on this episode, we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman number 779, and we're going to talk about Wonder Girl number 3. We are, as always, sponsored by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
Well, it turns out the Wonder Woman trade volume, Afterworld. So this wonderful story we're talking about is now available. It's 50% off, only $12.49. But we also have Wonder Woman Evolution, issue number 1. It's an 8-issue miniseries written by Stephanie Phillips, who's recently done some of the Harley work. So, again, we've got some really cool Wonder Woman stuff going on. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, we've got The Brave and the Bold, Batman the Brave and the Bold, Bronze Age Omnibus Hardcover. $99 Omnibus Hardcover, 42% off, only $57.99. These are amazing stories, and I can't give them a higher recommendation because in my formative years, these were stories that were connecting Batman every issue with new characters and opening my mind up to what the DC Universe really is and how big it really is. Also, a series that I really enjoyed recently, Joker Harley Criminal Sanity, the hardcover collection of that. $34.99 regularly, 42% off, only $20.29. This is a Black Label miniseries that the artwork's gorgeous. The story is stunning. You've got to pick this book up. So thank you, DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So, if you have read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
To the Batmobile. Let's go. Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed. Here, ready to move up.
Our first discussion this episode is going to be Wonder Woman 779, Afterworld's Finale. Written by Michael W. Conrad and Becky Cloonan. Art by Travis Moore. Colors by Tamara Bonvillain. Art letters by Pat Brousseau. Covers by Travis Moore and Tamara Bonvillain. Variant cover by Becky Cloonan. Assistant editor Bixie Mayhew. Editor is Brittany Holzer. Senior editor Mike Cotton. Wonder Woman created by William Moulton Marston. And apologies for any name butchery. So, Afterworld's Finale. This has been an interesting ride with Wonder Woman because we had this Wonder Woman is Dead storyline that's been going on as part of the events spinning out of Death Metal. And we seem to be at the end of this journey that she's been on, where we've gotten this her traveling to various different kind of worlds, starting with Asgard straight on through. And it's been a journey into the multiverse. I didn't know what to expect from this story and what was going to happen with Diana. If we were going to see an exploration of her becoming a god now and what that was like, or what I didn't expect was this, what we got. And I loved it. I loved the journey. I love Siggy. I love our little squirrel friend. Deadman's appearance in this has been fantastic. It's been a great cast of characters with a villain that I really enjoyed. I loved the twist with the villain, and not knowing the full story of the villain until it was gradually revealed throughout the story has been a pure joy. But I thought changing art styles throughout it, matching the worlds that they were going to, was pretty cool. This overall has been a very, very satisfying journey so far as we end this chapter and get ready to go in the next one. What have you been thinking about Wonder Woman this far, Jim?
This has been a great Wonder Woman story. This has all the cool stuff that we like about a good Wonder Woman. You got plenty of action, which you got to have because she is the warrior, but she is that blend. She's not just punch him in the face to solve the problem. And I always love those stories, those creators who give us those moments. Because you think about this one, this issue had plenty of action, plenty of violence, plenty of good fight sequences, But in the end, it's Wonder Woman's compassion, her intelligence, her general coolness that saves the day. It's not about, well, it kind of is punching the guy in the face because she does punch the bad guy in the face, but it is her, her intelligence, her strategery, shall we say, that saves the day on this. And those are the kind of neat Wonder Woman stories. I love those parts of, when we get those kind of Wonder Woman stories. And I think those are some of the best. So this creative team that have been going through this whole trip of, Wonder Woman in dealing with the afterlife has kind of been a neat story because they've really given us that. They've given us a great blend of all the neat stuff that makes Wonder Woman Wonder Woman.
I'm going to say something I've said on the show, and I'm a broken record with it, but I really mean it. Every time I read really great Wonder Woman stories, I connect it to the God of War games, and I'm sitting here wondering, why do we not have a great Wonder Woman video game? This story, in and of itself, if you think about the action, if you think about the drama, tell me you wouldn't want to be pulled through a game of this, where your final end boss is Janice at the end. And,
yes.
And the surprise is, it's not just the one half of Janice, the other half of Janice is a problem. So you the best video games have this boss where you think you've beat the boss, but then reality sets in and it's not what you thought. And then there's this next level of the boss battle. And I was reading this and I'm sitting here, oh my gosh, this game is writing itself. There's so much action jumping between the worlds, so you've got your levels, right? Ready-made in the fact that you can go to Asgard. I mean, and how fun would it be, this wacky level where you get in there and you're now I'm in Batmite's world with Mixus Pitlick and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what you could do in this game to pull you through, it writes itself in this great storytelling here. They have storyboarded what I think would be an excellent video game right here. Yes. In this storyline. This storyline, just do this. Plop. You got your bosses and everything, and you've got your supporting cast that you want too, because you got your aide, your companion would be the little squirrel, but then you've got times where you can fight alongside Siggy, which you could then do co-op gameplay. I mean, this would be a great video game, and I say this because I feel like we go to Batman. Well, and this isn't me saying I don't want more Batman video games. I want more, but I feel like there's DC properties. You're looking at, how do we get a new generation interested in these properties? Yes, film is one of them. Yes, TV is one of them. We are not speaking to the video game audience. You've written a video game here. I mean, oh my gosh, why is this not a thing?
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I'll be honest with you. I'm not as heavy gamer as you are, but everything you're saying, yes, I completely see, and I agree. The crafting of these stories, and we've had this on a lot of really cool Wonder Woman stories where they could very easily been laid out as a video game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the cool stuff about, as we've always said, the good Wonder Woman stories have that blend of the action and the story being told, and you've got to think through. It's not always about punching the bad guy in the face. It's about sometimes you got to figure out what is the little side hustle, and that kind of stuff would make for a neat game. That would be kind of fun. But
also, you start off without her having her memory, right? And she didn't really have her powers. You could gradually throughout the game be learning Wonder Woman's powers as her memory starts to come back.
Yeah.
And then picking up more powers along the way. And you've got this cool, different kind of lasso that's in there. And there's, this journey of discovery along the way with Wonder Woman that I'm you're leveling up along the way. You know what I mean? As you complete quests, your rewards are she gets more of her powers back. She eventually gets to fly. She eventually gets to do this. I mean, these cool things that now she can do because of the fact that she's made progress through the game. You add some serious RPG elements into this. That would be really great. I really loved this story because it feels big, and applaud them that they gave us this big story, because this is a impressive story. This is what I love about serialized storytelling. This binged watched like something we're getting on Netflix right now, or something we're getting on HBO Max or something, and very, very well written from that respect, because I just loved the unfolding mystery, even when I knew it was Dead Man. In the sequence where we talked about that, it was cool. I mean, it was wow, I didn't see that coming, but yet it made so much sense. So there's everything they did in this had a lot of elements of where you're like, they're making sense. I love that she brought back the gods, and the fact that she was a catalyst for doing that. We see her as this agent of hope in this, which is really great. She does not compromise herself, and there's times where she's hit about as hard when she's put back into that like desolate, nothing, that white light nothing again. She's faced with this decision of, do I just settle for this? Or am I something more? Am I the one that can change this? Or do I just keep on fighting because of the fact that that's what I do? I love that we see her in moments of doubt. She's got to talk herself into going, okay, what do I do? Who am I? Who do I want to be? And she ultimately chooses everything she stands by, her code, in the end. And that's such a great part of all this, because you're sitting here like, okay, we've all been there, right? Where we've had times of self-doubt, we're being hit with a lot. It's even an issue of frustration over the amount of time something might take to be accomplished or to get where you want it to go, to the point where you're like, am I ever going to get here? Am I ever going to complete this? She's faced with that just like we are, and she chooses the right path. I'm going to stick with what I believe in. I'm going to stick with who I am and my honor, my sense of love and compassion, even though I'm being driven to perhaps choose otherwise, or others might say it makes sense to choose otherwise. I love that she sticks with the choice of compassion and takes responsibility for it, though, too. If this doesn't work, I'm the one. Point it at me. I will take care of it. I love that, because I really feel that this story did a great job of showing us, once again, what separates Diana from other heroes. Part of the joy of reading a shared universe like the DC universe is when the characters are richly defined, you get those moments where you're like, this is a story, yeah, you can put another hero in here, but it's not going to go this way. Only with Diana in this spot is this story going to play out the way that it is. It might still play out strong and might still end with a positive conclusion with another hero, but it's not going to be the same path because they aren't Diana. And that's what was great about this story. I felt like it was really clear. The resolution of this and the entire journey was driven by who she is. You couldn't put hero A or hero B in that same spot and get the same end result. I love that.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I think it's funny because I laugh at myself still to this day when I think back to all the great Wonder Woman stories I miss, as a kid, because I didn't pick it up because it was a girl comic, and when I was young, I was stupid. And now I'm sitting back going, man, this is some awesome stuff. And I'm going back and I've been reading a lot of the older, Wonder Woman stories and just, diving into it. And this is, again, this is a very common kind of theme in the great Wonder Woman stories. There's been a lot of other stories that are just, pretty woman punches people. Cool. That's a neat story. But there are these stories that do dive into just the, Wonder Woman's true power is compassion. And I think that is, you look back to for the period when she was the god of war. And then eventually they shifted it. Like, she's not going to be the god of war. She's the god of peace. She's the god of hope. And as much as Superman is the big blue is hope, this right here, she truly is that hope and compassion. And I think that is, again, those are the best stories of hers that we've read. And even throughout this, I love how, we get this really cool fight sequence going on where Janice, she's attacking Wonder Woman over the dead man body. Siggy, shows up for the kind of the rescue, and it's Diana who brings him back with this other lasso of hers. And again, I love seeing just her, her hesitation. She's worried about the power, that the lasso itself, she knows, is not being completely upfront and honest with her. There's little hidden stuff. She's not 100% what's going on with it, but there's a chance to save Boston, and she's going to take that chance, and she's going to use the lasso to bring him back. I thought those were some really cool sequences. I was like, man, this is cool.
But only only use it as far as she needs to because she doesn't trust it. I think you're nailing something there.
Yeah.
She knows that it's capable of doing these great things, but she does not know the price. That's one of the great things I love about her and it's why she was so great when she was a part of Justice League Dark as well. Because she understands the world of magic, she understands that magic comes with a price. So, not knowing what she is signing up for or what she's signing even the participant up for. You know, it's like, okay, I can use this to take down Janice right now, but what does that mean? What is the price of that? What is the cost? Is pretty critical. It separates her from Constantine, for example, who's like, well, the end result's more important than the cost.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I love that separation as well, because you know John Constantine, if you plopped him into this story, it wouldn't even be a question.
There'd be a lot of different endings.
Yeah. I mean, this would have ended like on page 3. And it would have, and I don't know that either the squirrel or Siggy would be making it out of this. First of all, I'm not sure they would have made it to this point in the story, because they would have been a stepping stone to perhaps get here.
Well, Ragnarok would have happened.
Yes. Yeah. So it's interesting when you look at a story like this and go, wow, the hero's journey really does make a difference. I love the creative team for this, because this story just really was so much fun to think about possibilities with. And I didn't expect that out of it. And it's I'm so different than anything else I'm reading right now, in a very good way.
Yeah. Well, a neat thing, I like how when after they bring back Dead Man, and he's like explains where they are. They're not in a physical. They're in an in-between universe, and there's no escape. Sorry, guys, we're kind of trapped here. And I love the fact that one minute he's saying we can't escape. There's nothing we can do. And then the next minute, when they realize that the other half of Janice was really the bad guy, he's like, let me hop out of here. Let me go get there. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I lied before because I didn't want to be, captive again. I thought that again was a really funny moment of, neat kind of just the character development. But something I noticed in my art read through that I never noticed before. Mm-hmm. When Deadman flies, it's like he's swinging on the trapeze. He's not just flying.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, because that's what he did. Oh, that is cool. I never noticed that before. I was like, that was awesome.
And I don't think they always do that, but I loved the attention on this one. You're right. I caught that too, and I really enjoyed it. I love the art styling of him. He's a character who I haven't read as much Dead Man. I've read a number of stories with him in a crossover, particularly him with Batman. But I haven't read as much of the solo miniseries. I've read some. I always love the character, so I'm surprised that I haven't gone back, and it's something I'm going to do, I think, quite soon, because of the fact that I've been enjoying this so much. I haven't read all of Neil Adams' stuff with Dead Man. I've read some, but I haven't read all of it. I'd love to read that, because, that's some pretty definitive work with the character, and it's Neil Adams' artwork, so, yeah, count me in.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that we had an opportunity to have him in this one. Diana's one of those characters that's so great, because she becomes more interesting the more compelling the mishmash of characters are. Because there were ones, did you read any of the ones where it was more of a politically driven story by Greg Rucka? Where she was acting as an ambassador? Did you read any of that?
I have them. I haven't had a chance to read them yet. I got the collected stuff on those. So
what's so great about that one is very similar to this. It's a compelling and interesting supporting cast of characters that she's playing off of. And it's very cool, because she's acting as the Amazon ambassador to the world. The people that are surrounding her are really, she's still having, Wonder Woman adventures and all the stuff that you would expect. But on top of that, she's an ambassador. And it gets really political in a good way, where it's not overdone, doesn't beat you over the head, but it's kind of a political look at the DC universe, in a way that's balanced out with great character drama, great relationship building, great action, great combat, everything that you would expect from a Wonder Woman story. What makes it compelling is when I'm looking at this story, this has elements of what I really loved about that. Great villains, unique villains, all with their own unique motivations, but a supporting cast that are just as important as the main character, and help us to get to know more about the various layers that are Diana. And I thought this story did that well. Siggy I really liked. He's a character that I don't know if this is the conclusion of Siggy for now or not. I mean, obviously next issue and the forthcoming issues we'll see, because he has this way of, he's found a way to keep popping up.
Yep.
So I don't know if that's done. If it is, I've really enjoyed the journey with the character and hope we get to see him again sometime in the future. If it's not, I'm just as excited because I really have found that I like this character quite a bit.
Yeah. Well, I think the character is done for now.
I do too.
But he's now part of her lore, so we could very easily see him come back again. The way they laid out this ending, they did a great ending. And it was funny how the other half of Janice was really the villain on this whole story, and it does end with her punching him, knocking him out. So it does end with a punch to the face, but even that goes beyond that. Because it's Diana does the mercy. Shows mercy, and as you said, she takes a responsibility. Hey, if it doesn't work out, I'm on it. And it's you see just those two. I think are going to be fine. I think their story is kind of concluded. Maybe later on we'll see the two of them together again. But you think back to like they show where everybody goes through. How the Greek gods and all the other universes are fixing stuff. And you go back to Valhalla and they're cheers in the bar because they've got Thirsty Thursdays where they drink now. So it's kind of neat that you see them raising a glass to her. So I don't think he's not 100% done.
Yeah, I hope so because I really enjoyed the journey with the character. We get the reveal of the Norns, which now we learn something about what the lasso is that she's been carrying. That it's one of their threads. It was interesting seeing that reveal over there. And this was a great issue because it kind of gave us answers to a lot of the mysteries that have been going on. Maybe not 100% everything, but everything we needed to know. And when I say not 100% everything, I think that's kind of the fun of this story, right? Is that we know, I feel like we're walking out in the end of this journey with everything we needed to know. And it's still a sense of wonder of some of the things that maybe we could go back and ask questions about that I think are normal in this caliber of story. And that was something that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and again, this is a great ending for this section, they did a great, beginning, middle, end with it left open for what's going to happen in the future. I loved that. And again, and me, I like the endings where they give you the kind of like the follow-up stuff. So that one-page spread, I like the follow-up. But again, it does lead to what's next for Diana. And that is kind of neat. And they even say next, Diana's return. I don't think she's going to Earth. I don't think she's going back into the world. I think this is just the beginning, next step on. Because you think about it, when she first was pulled into this other universe, and she was going to become one of the superpowers or whatever they were calling themselves, and she was going to become just this, entity. They had the whole thing with Darkseid where the others felt like they completely dealt with Darkseid, and he's still around. So I'm thinking the next story is going to be Diana versus Darkseid. So I think we're going from this into frying pan and fire kind of thing. I don't think she's going back to Earth. I think we're going to get another big epic story like this. It just won't be with this group.
I don't know that I agree with you. Here's the thing. When I say I disagree with you, I would gladly go on that journey. I think we are going to get a step towards her return, though, in a different way. I don't think it's going to be clean, like, bam, Diana's back, and then everything's just back to normal. I think it's going to be another epic story, but it's going to be the story of how Diana returns to the world. In the sense that you can't, after everything she's been through, just kind of plop back into your life. So there's going to be more to it than that. But this is, again, speculation. So when I say I disagree with you, I'm disagreeing from a speculation standpoint, not anything that I think I'm right or wrong or anything in comparison. I do think that it's not going to be another story like this. I think it's going to be a lot closer to home, but it's not. You can't just plop, after all this, you can't just plop her back. And the question is, when is she going to be coming back? I think is the bigger question I have, because we already know time passes differently. Is she going to, first of all, is she going to be back on our Earth? Is she going to be back on a Earth? Is it going to be the present day? Is it not going to be present day? I think there's a lot of questions that come spinning out of this that are going to be very interesting to see. Or is it going to be, like you're saying, another fantastical journey along the way because something diverts the path? Maybe. I'm not against any of that.
Right.
Because it's been a great story. So you could be 100% correct. I don't think it's going to be that way, but I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not, again, with this creative team, yep. I'm okay. You tell me this. They tell me the story they want to tell me, and I'll be happy with it. I trust this team well enough. We've seen enough of what they can do. This is a solid team. They get Diana. They get the cool story, so I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's going to be another fantastical journey. I don't think she's going back to Earth, but again, I could be wrong. Or it could be Diana back on Earth, but who knows? Maybe things are different for her. Maybe she's not Wonder Woman. Maybe she's Diana. Maybe we're going to get stories of Diana Prince, and she's not going to be Wonder Woman. Because you think about it, in the other DC titles going on, Diana's not around. Wonder Woman is not around in that universe. So either she's keeping herself hidden, or she's not Wonder Woman, or she's not there yet. I don't know.
I think it's the latter. I think it's what you just said at the end. She's not there yet.
Yeah. So it's kind of neat to see. I'm really looking forward to what's next. Especially because they say Diana's return, because it's next Diana's return, not Wonder Woman's return. But I don't know. There's so many. I've got so many different threads flying from my head right now that it's a kind of it could be this, it could be this. What about this? So there's a lot of different stuff they can do. And again, I've said before, I'll say again, I trust this team.
I do too.
So whatever they're going to give me, I'm 100% in on.
In the meantime, you know what God it pretty much stinks to be, and maybe I have a lot of sympathy for? Janice.
Yeah.
So you're getting sewn back up together again, and that's the mercy. I don't know that I would... First of all, I don't know that it was so great before. I don't know that it ever was so great. But now it's like you're basically being sewn together with the chance of it being eternity. I did like seeing Janice kind of holding hands, at the one point.
Yeah.
Where, maybe there's some hope for Janice to kind of get back on the same page again, or, find the balance. Because you see how the two sides being separated from each other is actually separating aspects of each other's personality that act as a balancing agent between the two of them. It's going to be very interesting to see if we see more of Janice in the future, because I really liked Janice as a villain. They really opened up something here that, whether it's soon or later or somewhere down the line, this is a villain that can make an appearance again and really be interesting.
Yeah, well, actually, it's funny. I think she can, come back as an ally.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Because I think I'm seeing more of the and I'm doing air quotes around the evil version of her. The one that looks like Wonder Woman. She's wants hope, and she's one of those villains that it's not. They didn't see themselves as the bad guy. They just want to make the world a better place. And then even the other one kind of had a little maniacal in them. So there's some villainy there, but. These two are kind of villains who just wanted to make things better. They weren't looking beyond what they think the solution is. Together, these two can maybe see the past and present and the future and actually have that hope they wanted. They can maybe find it again someday. So I think
Mass Murder?
These are a villain that can become an ally later on for Diana. And I think that's going to be a neat thing to see. As time goes on, will the one half of Janice change her look from the evil version of Wonder Woman to a more good, to the more, the more gooder version?
I would like to point out, though, that they were justifying mass murder.
That's right. There is bad guy. There is bad elements to them. So yes,
that was.
I'm not saying they're not bad people.
Yes,
but it's one of those you can kind of understand why they're doing it, and you can get sympathy for them, and I think that's kind of interesting that we talk about people who did mass murder, but we're kind of sympathetic for them, and we kind of are like, oh wow, I kind of understand where they're coming from. Wrong way of handling it, but I understand their motivation. It's not like just the maniacal villain who wants to conquer the universe. they're trying to provide a better future by destroying these elements that they feel are what are keeping, the good from happening.
Well, the only catch I will say with that, though, and it's where it's compelling. I think throughout history, you can see people that have done horrible acts where you can find some elements where you understand what led them down that path, but you don't necessarily, and I'm not saying you are justifying them. What I'm saying is I think what makes them a true villain and what makes them a compelling villain is the fact that you understand how they got there, but you don't justify it. They're interesting because even being sewn back up together, I'm like sitting here, oh, what does that do to somebody, even if you're godlike? And you realize that also is a factor in what's driving them to be, this sense of need for freedom, this sense of need for being able to be their own separate entities and being able to think for themselves, and what they could do if they could think for themselves, but how they get it so horribly wrong when they do. And it's an interesting sort of compelling argument for them as a character. I'd love to see an exploration with them. Like I almost, in the old days, you could almost spin that off into a miniseries. Like I would love to read a miniseries about where Janice goes from here. Maybe that's not Wonder Woman. It's just the story, like a 4-issue miniseries with the story of Janice, or a one-shot with the story of Janice. That kind of gives you an idea either of Janice before or Janice after these events. I'd love to see that kind of stuff because I found this to be a compelling character.
Oh, big time, big time. And again, it's the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. There's so many things that, it's, just that one little bit takes you down the wrong path. It's the whole, the kill code with Batman. He can't cross that because he knows, I'm just killing the Joker. Then I'm just killing, Penguin, who's killed multiple people. I'm just killing this person. Next thing you know, that guy's jaywalking and you're killing him. You go down that, once you cross that line, once you go a little bit further, and it's kind of one of those neat things we see constantly in comics where the hero saying, I can't cross that line, I gotta watch it. Or when you get the hero who does cross the line, like, oh no, so it's, the Janice story could be very interesting. The aftermath of this, you look at that one-page spread that kind of shows all the different universes rebuilding. They could do, again, as you said, a little one-shot on any of these things showing the aftermath of this. Just like with Siggy, that's how they could bring him back. They do a one-shot Siggy where it shows him coming back somehow. I'd 100% be into that.
So here's the pages making me think this is really the end of this journey and not where they're going to be going for the next issue. It was a happy ending for most and a fair ending for all. Each realm was forever improved for having been visited by the wayfaring hero. Over and over, she risked it all for those she knew she might never meet again, and those who would now never forget her. Lives forever changed. Wonder Woman has that effect on people, believe me. And you actually see multiple realms being represented here. It kind of gives you this sense of, we've gone to multiple places now. Now we're turning the page, and we're going to where we go next. I think it's going to be a journey, but I really think it is going to be that journey towards Diana's return. I don't think that the endings. This is myself. Again. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
And again, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with we get this actually now starts leading to Diana's return. But again, and that whole side, I've got all these different because like the one thing that does keep popping in my head, if Diana comes back, I don't know if Wonder Woman's coming back. I think Diana is coming back as a person, and we're going to get Diana Prince without superpowers. I think we're going to get a depowered Wonder Woman who has to figure out either her journey to get her powers back or decide, no, I'm going to remain this mortal. And I'm actually going to live a life. She's got to make. It's one of those things where you got to make the choice. Who are you going to be?
Really?
That's what that's okay. If we go back with Diana, that's why I see next Diana's return.
From this story, that's why I see. I think, but if you take a look at this story, I get what you're saying. Like you're taking the Diana's return, but I think if you look at this story, I don't know how she goes from this story where she's fighting for what she believes in to going back and saying, maybe I'm going to be a coffee barista now. I don't see that. It's interesting. To your point, what happens if she comes back and she's depowered? What does that look like? Right. So I get that. And I would be glad to read that story because I think that would be compelling. This story seems like it's such a setup for her to come back to Earth with a different mission. Like when she gets back, if it's immediate, because I do think you might be onto something where it's not going to be an A to B. It's not going to be bam, we're just back. I think there's going to be some form of journey involved in the getting back, but I don't think it's going to be like this. I think there's something else that's going to be a part of it. I don't know. We'll see. But that's interesting. It would be interesting to go from this story, like I don't see them doing that, going from this story to now she's just going to be human. But you're talking about what if she doesn't have a choice? Which is really where you're going with that. What if that isn't her option?
Yeah, and again, I don't know. Part of me thinks no, they're not going to do that. She's going to come back bigger and badder than ever. Because this is her mission. She's choosing to leave. She's choosing to leave eternal rest. She's choosing to leave the transcending to a higher being to go back to Earth. So if she's going to go back to Earth, she's going to go back as Diana of Themyscira. So she's going to go back as herself, full power. But what if we don't get that? Those are the things, and again, it's multiple shoots off my brain of where this story can go. And I think that's the neat thing about a well-crafted story.
Yep.
It leaves you wondering what's next. Oh, what's going to be? What about this? Well, what about this? So I love the fact that I'm having this kind of feeling on Wonder Woman's story. So
I agree. Actually, that's part of the fun of this, right? Is it's not necessarily about being right or wrong. It's about thinking through possibilities. And when you care about a story, you start thinking about possibilities. And it's an example of you and I both read the same story, and we're thinking two very different possibilities. And it's all speculation, but I'm very curious to see where it goes. Can we talk a little bit about young Diana in the background?
Yeah.
We have that story, Sisterhood. And the writer's Jordi Belair. Artist is Paulina... It's Ganucheau. Colors by Kendall Good. Letters by Becca Carey. Assistant editor, of course, is Bixie Mayhew. The editor is Brittany Holzer. Senior editor is Mike Cotton. Wonder Woman, of course, created by William Moulton Marston. And apologies for any name butchery. These have been great. I've really enjoyed this. I've loved the different type of storytelling, the art style being different from what's going on in the main story. Because of the fact that I think the separation of the art style gives you this idea this is a different time period. This is a much younger Diana. We're getting to see her journey. This is coming to a conclusion as well. And I'm wondering what's next for this book, as far as what does the next issue look like? Is there going to be a co-feature? If there is it going to be this same team? Is it going to be the same art style? What is going to be the premise? Is it going to continue from where it leaves off? Because it seems to imply at the end that, this could perhaps be the end. Because it says only the beginning. But a lot of times when they do that, that's implying now we're handing it off to the original contest and the things that we've already, seen, perhaps. Or there may be other stories in between that they're now choosing to tell that we haven't seen. I would love more of an exploration like this coming out of this, or really... in this creative team I trust, I'm hoping we're continuing to get some form of co-feature in the back of this, whether it's more of this or this team being able to do something else. I like this team a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they continue to do more.
Yeah, and I love the dramatic difference in art style.
Mm-hmm.
That was a perfect choice to go with, this style as opposed to what they're doing in the main title of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Because, again, it gave you that great separation, but also because it was young Diana, it did give her a more youthful look. And I thought that was a really cool thing. And like you, I enjoyed reading these backup stories. And again, I don't even want to call it a backup story. I want to call it a second story because this had a solid, firm story. And again, we got a really cool Diana story in it. There was some adventure, there was some other stuff, but it wasn't about her punching the bad guy. This 100% was about Diana recognizing what was right and wrong and doing the right thing. Even though it was her mother who had who kept the secrets and kept things hidden from her sisters. I thought that was a really cool stuff going on in this. Again, there's right and there's wrong. You got to step up, and you got to, when you make the mistake, you got to acknowledge it, and you got to take the consequences for it. I thought that was a really cool story showing up.
Yeah, and what was interesting about this is, and I agree with what you're saying here. We've done this on multiple episodes now where we've had these stories that are in there, and it really is the next story chronologically. It's not a statement on quality. It's a statement on the fact that I really like that they're there, because I feel this is a great way to tell something that you wouldn't be able to put necessarily in its own book. Although I would make it stronger. I would pick this up. Like if you collected this all together and released it as one of those young adult books that they put out there. But I don't know that it would capture. I don't know what the sales numbers look like on those. I hope they're good, because those have been interesting. But this is in continuity, and this has been an interesting journey because we found something different about Themyscira, a great secret about what they did, about how they not only escaped their captors, but this is one where Hippolyta made a choice, and it was a violent choice, and one that's been hidden from the people for a long time. This idea of this is what we did in order to not only escape our captors, but to ensure they weren't going to be able to do this again. And it's very much a dark tale for Themyscira. I liked that. I really liked the choice. It was a really good story, and Diana uncovering it and trying to say, well, we've got to bring this truth to light. We've got to talk about this. It's not just about all the good things that we've done. We've also got to own who we've been along the way and what that looked like, so that way we just strive to continue to be better, to be something more, which is kind of this is very complimentary in tone to what's going on in the story that's in the main part of the book. And I love that these have a longer page count than I think traditionally. I'd have to go back and see what these page count these features used to get. But I feel like these seem to be a little longer, both this one and the one that's in Justice League. And that could be just me psychologically, but they feel like there's a little bit more meat to them in a good way, because I feel like these stories are, to your point, something that are richer and really being well done. And I like the expansion of this concept. I hope these are doing well, these books that have them, because I want to see more of this stuff.
And one of the funny things for me, it's stuff I noticed in art read-throughs, that even though they got this different style to it, the art team really did make sure, they didn't halfway it.
Yep.
And they could have very easily. Like little stuff that I noticed, like when she dove into the water to swim with the megalodons again, if you look on the beach, you'll see her cape and her sandals are folded up and put away, while she's swimming in, and just, so even like when she's getting out of the water, she's wringing out her hair, and you see the droplets and you see the drops on the, on the water. So it's, little stuff that they could have very easily, if they wanted to do halfway, no, they went full on, even though it's this different art style. It has more of an open, cartoony look to it, but it's, they still took their time. So, again, it's something I love the story, because everything you said was true, how this was a darker story, but it still had that very positive, upbeat feel to it. And the art style wasn't as grim and dark and brooding but it still had those little attention to detail. So this was an absolute wonderful team for this. So if they keep doing these young Diana stories, hopefully it'll be, again, keep the same team on it.
Yeah, I want to see more from this team. I love the writing. I love the art. The whole presentation was really outstanding. This has been a great book, and I'm glad we got a chance to talk about it again.
Can Batman escape? One hint, the worst is yet to come.
Our next discussion is on Wonder Girl issue number 3. The writer is Joelle Jones, with Joelle Jones and Adriana Milo as the artist, Jordi Belair as colors, Clayton Cowell on letters, Jones and Belair on cover, with Matteo Scaleria and Marino Dionisio as the variant cover. Bixie Mayhew is assistant editor. Brittany Holzer is editor. And, of course, apologies on name butchering, because I know I did it, but I'm absolutely loving this book. I need to give them credit for the beautiful work.
So This has been an interesting book because we're 3 issues in right now, and my gosh, I cannot tell you how much I'm really enjoying this. I mentioned in previous episodes, one of my biggest worries with the shakeups at DC was getting new characters or getting the exploration of some of the underused characters in DC. I love stuff like this because it's what makes a universe feel rich, feel three-dimensional, feel expanded. I love new characters, the ones that are well thought out. This Wonder Girl has been great. I love Yara. I love that there's a point. I love that we're exploring Brazil, more of a different area with her. There's something about it. The art style really matches in this book. I love the art. And when I say the art, I'm talking about pencils, inks, and colors, because there's some interesting choices that are made in tones and backgrounds in this book that I think make the foreground characters pop in a way that's really unique. This is like a complete package book for me, and it's something that I really appreciate. When you hear about characters like this, you don't know what to expect. You get kind of excited and you hope that it's going to be what you're anticipating. Every so often you get something like this where this is more than what I was anticipating. My enjoyment of it, I figured I was going to dig it, but I didn't think I was really going to love it as much as I'm loving it, and I can't wait to see where this tale continues to go. I hope it's doing well. Admittedly, I don't pay a lot of attention to numbers because I found when I did, and I love people, there's a lot of people who really love numbers. I'm going to use John Mayo, for example, old friend. John Mayo is very big into stats and numbers, and I find his delivery on them incredibly compelling and interesting, his analysis of them. For me, what I found is when I tried following numbers, other than when somebody like John's laying them out, I found that I was getting frustrated and spending a lot more time focusing on the numbers than my enjoyment of the content. I was letting the numbers really drive for myself, my feelings. So I love reading this book and admittedly being more oblivious to the numbers and just enjoying this book and being able to speak to it for what it is and hopefully pointing people towards a book that I feel they should be reading. Because if you're missing this one, you're missing a lot. Well, this is my take on it. Where are you with Wonder Girl? Because you and I both, when we were like, this is a great chance, a few issues in now we talked about issue number 1. Now that we're in issue 3, how has this book been for you, Jim?
See, I'll tell you, this for me is exactly how you want to do diversity. This is how you want to change status quo on people. Mm-hmm. They very easily could have taken Cassie and said, no, from now on, she's Brazilian. I would have hated that. Because then I'd be like, no, but Wonder Girl is Cassie. Not anymore. And they did it by keeping the Wonder Girl we know, but then adding on to it this whole mythos of the Amazons. Because it's not just the Mascara. We have these other Amazons throughout the world. So bringing in an Amazons from the Brazil area, hey, that's perfect. I'm loving this. I'm absolutely loving it. And I like how she didn't know who she was until she came back to the native soil. And that's when the power starts getting up. And all these different factions are coming after her. She's a kid who really doesn't know what's going on. And she's just improvise, adapt, and overcome. But we're seeing already she's a good person at heart. She is a hero at heart. And I love seeing just those moments when she's rushing to save the day. Eros is in trouble. That man needs our help, and she's fast fooding it to help him. Earlier issues when there was that accident, and she ran off the bus to save those people, putting herself in jeopardy to help somebody. She doesn't know her invulnerability, her strength, or any of that stuff. She just knows someone needs my help. I've got to do the right thing. I love this character. I love this exploration and everything. As I said before, with the art team. This right here is a great art usage. This is one of those where the art team really fits the story being told. We don't want to have the same kind of art team that was on Wonder Woman, which was wonderful, and we both loved it. We need a stylized for her, a stylized that fits, and they did a great job with this so far. I'm really digging, this character, really digging the story, and I want to continue following this person. I want to follow Yara. I want to see her eventually become Wonder Girl, and have that that moment, have her in a costume. We've already started seeing her get some of her weapons. With that the ball and the string, whatever that is. She's got her version of the lasso. So I'm like, cool. She's got her lasso. Now let's see what happens next with her. I want to see that kind of stuff grow, and I want to see that development of her.
One of the things that I really dig is her relationship with her boyfriend, and he's a character who we liked him in the first issue when they were first in that cab ride together, where we got to see the interplay and interaction between the two of them. And what I loved about it is you could see why he was instantly attracted to her, and that was something that really stood out for me. When you get that chemistry, it's something that I think is hard to develop nowadays, a chemistry that feels natural and real. So that by issue 3, when you've got now a god who can shoot somebody with an arrow, and actually shot himself with an arrow and fell in love with her, it's an interesting sort of problem, because he did that. His arrows not only affect them, but it affects him too. He shot himself and wound up falling in love with her. Now he's shot her, and she still seems to be, to some extent, able to fight its effects, even though it's clearly affecting her. It's an interesting sort of conundrum. I loved where this story went, because there's genuinely a chemistry between these two that is strong, pulling them together. She's got genuine feelings for him. You see the look in her eyes, when the arrow is affecting her. Yet you see her torn. And I loved seeing that battle, because you want to believe she's strong, right? And she has some conviction. And that's something that I really liked about her. And I'm jumping kind of ahead in the story, but their relationship is a critical piece to my enjoyment of this. And I'm really finding that to be one of the draws of this story, even though as the story is continuing, she's also being hunted by various groups of Amazons for various reasons, because she's either meant to be two different paths, either this harbinger of great good, or this harbinger of the end of whole elements, whole tribes, bringing real harm to the world. So it's a lot of responsibility for a girl who's just being plopped on the scene, right? And not really knowing that she's caught in the middle of all this.
Well, that's the cool thing. She has absolutely no idea what is going on, and she's just, basically, she's doing the right thing whenever she can. And I think that is a really cool statement with her. And it was funny, like when she's fighting off the spirits of the woods, and she has her version of lasso, whips it, and it does nothing. And she's like, okay, well, we're not supposed to be here. We're trespassing. So I'm just going to find our way out. Let's go. And I love that. I thought that for me was a funny, funny moment. Again, it's that whole, you don't have to punch the bad guy in the face. Sometimes you could run, but that's when Eros messes things up by stabbing her with the arrow, making sure this time he hits. It was a really cool sequence, and everything you said about her fighting the effect of the arrow was, again, it shows the connection between her and Joe, how they've got that solid connection. There's something real there. And, Eros's arrows aren't as strong as the real thing, but they're still strong enough to compel her, to pull her away. It was a really cool moment. And again, great usage of the artwork, as you said, with the eyes, but even just the little subtle stuff with the tear coming down her face, and she's like, he's got his hand out, and she can see she wants to go to him, but she ends up going with Eros, and she's like, "I'll be back, I promise." And I was like, man, that was some really cool stuff. Those are some cool moments there.
I love we get to see Artemis and Cassie, and obviously this is a younger-ish Cassie that's being presented in this, because we've had a Cassie that has kind of gone back to like a Young Justice era Cassie, but now at this point I feel like she's age progressed, where she's almost in between some of the Titans issues that you and I loved so much with her and Superboy, and that era, and we see her here with Artemis, and in a very early meeting between the two of them. I love these characters, and I'm glad that they're being reintroduced. And I'm with you. What you mentioned earlier was you could have easily made this Cassie, And the problem with that is it's far more interesting when you've got Cassie.
Yes.
So we don't have to get rid of a previous character. It's having these two interact is going to be far more compelling to me. Having Artemis interact, far more compelling to me. Because of the fact that I want to see those meetings. I want to see those two interact with each other. And it validates this as being Yara being her own unique character. Well developed from the ground up, being somebody that each page I want to see more of, and I want to learn of from this. So it's really an interesting sort of piece.
Yeah, and again, Cassie in this, the Cassie Artemis dynamic dialogue, I absolutely loved that. I thought that was just a really cool moment because again, it's going back to the Cassie that I know and I really, really like. So I'm like, okay, I'm happy with this, And even like it was funny. She goes, "You got some pretty sweet moves. Sweet moves. I mean, I like the way you kicked that lady." Oh, thank you. It was just again little funny bits that doesn't take away from the story. These two are going to be a very formidable team, And I don't know. And again, I add to it when Yara starts becoming into the groove. The three of them together, I'm imagining, will be some really cool adventures and some neat stuff. Even though Artemis is technically probably going to go back, they'll each go their own separate ways. But I'm thinking in my head, we may have continuing story of these three working together. When everything is said and done.
Right. I think the compelling part with this would be, again, I love that. So as you're saying that, I'm like nodding, and I'm like, well, I could also see the possibility of it being a gray area too, where there's a lot of misunderstandings maybe before you get to that point. I'm going to be curious to see if she becomes part of the fold or she remains her own entity or what happens with her. And I don't know that I have a preference either way off of that. None of that is meant to be disputing what you just said. I think what I love about her is she's this blank slate that I want to see where is this story going to go.
Well, first off, I guarantee there's going to be a fight sequence between these three.
Oh, yeah.
When they first meet up, because so far everybody's been trying to kill Yara. And, so she's not going to immediately trust these three. But I can see Cassie immediately calming her down just the way she is. Even in the fight, the fight sequence before. I love the fact that she's in the fight. Oh, that's my bad. How rude. That's my bad. I never introduced myself. So she's in the middle of a fight trying to make peace with the people who are, punching her, beating her up, trying to hurt her. And again, those are some funny moments with her. So I see the similar kind of fighting sequence going on between her and Yara. And I think that's going to calm down. And then Artemis jumps in, which will kind of escalate the situation again. But I think we're going to get a really neat dynamic between these three eventually. And that's what I'm hoping for. Because, one, I don't want to lose a book. I don't want the book to get so crowded that we don't get good Yara stories. Because I think we've got a lot of neat stuff that can come out of her. And she's got her own gods and her own situation to deal with down in Brazil. I really want to keep them there. I don't want her to come up to America or deal with any of that kind of. I want her to stay down there because I want them to tell that kind of story. I think that would be a more interesting story if you deal with the intrigue and the mystery and the whatnot that's going on down there. Because we're really just seeing the tip of the iceberg with how that version of the Amazons live and are and operate. I want to see her operate in that realm for a little while. So I want to see the three of them together, but I don't want to see her leave her area.
I love her weapon. This like lasso magic with there's something interesting about that and seeing her use it. I'm glad that it isn't a traditional lasso. It's got the little magical. It's almost can be used as a projectile weapon, and there's something unique about the design of it in comparison. It's Donna Troy has a unique lasso too that she uses, and I liked the idea of if you're going to bring in this concept, let's not give her an identical weapon to Diana or Donna Troy. Let's make it a twist. And let's do something a little different with her, give her a little bit of a different visual style, give her a different combat style from it. And I really liked that. I thought it was something that really stands out in this piece.
Well, you think about it, she really doesn't have the Amazonian training that the others have. You know, she mentioned it. I can't remember one of the issues where she took some kickboxing lessons, but that was about it. So with her, she's really it's learning on the fly. So that's the kind of stuff I'd like to see her. I'd like to see the training sequence. And that all ties into the other, other Wonder Girls or Artemis even, helping her out with her training and her, getting into the hero role. I don't think by the end of this series we're going to have Wonder Girl. I mean, air quotes around Wonder Girl, where she's like, declared superhero out there doing her thing. She's going to have a process where she's going to get until she really gets the groove of being a hero. But we're already seeing just her very nature. Her secondary nature is to help people. And that's what you want in your heroes. And then you've got this really cool kind of intrigue going on with her family and her culture and her Amazons. So that's going to be kind of a neat little story to tell. And then we've got these other gods that are, I don't know about you, I have no understanding of them at all. So I love when I get new exploration, new versions of the gods. So we're going to get a Wonder Woman-esque type story, but it's not going to be Wonder Woman. It's going to be her. And that's what I'm really looking forward to. And they're calling her Wonder Girl. They very easily could give her own code name, but again, I'm happy with what they call her. There's so many different things they could do with this character later on. Even, I'm thinking, 5 years down the line, she could change her code name and have actually one that's more appropriate for her and for her people. And I'd be like ecstatic on that because me in development and progression, I love that kind of stuff. So I'm looking down the line for her multiple years on the different stuff they can do with her, and I'm looking forward to it because they're building a solid foundation of a hero that could be really cool to read.
Yes. I want to see her eventually interact with Diana. I want to see her interact with Hippolyta. I want to see, is everybody going to be on the same page? I see this being something where I think Diana and her, it is why we're talking about in the first segment of this, Diana's potential return and what that looks like. I do think there's something interesting about her relationship with Yara that may make her different than Hippolyta or Cassie or Artemis, because really all of those people that I'm mentioning are coming at it from a very different standpoint. Then we have this whole other Amazon sect that's after her as well. So you've got a lot of fronts that are coming after her that are going to influence this a great deal. It does make this world, the world of Amazons and their lore, that much richer. Boy, this has been a year for Amazon lore, hasn't it? I mean, we're really expanding out what the Amazons are, what they mean, what their culture is, and I thought I knew what it was before and how rich it was. They're adding layers to it, or maybe even expanding and defining layers to it in a way that was totally unexpected. And this series is such a huge help with it.
Oh, yeah. And again, you think about when she and Diana meet, because it's going to happen. And I'll be honest with you, I think that's normally how you have that stereotypical where the heroes meet for the first time, there's always got to be the fight. I'm thinking the exact opposite with Diana and her. I see 100% them standing in position and Diana just like, sister, and it'll be that more of the open embrace and just that, because that is Diana, and that's something I really want to see, just that, that moment, of those two coming together and her, whether she's welcoming her into the Wonder family or whether she's just welcoming her as her sister. I think that's going to be kind of neat to see. And again, all this stuff with these Amazons, with the Amazonian rainforest, the Brazilian Amazons. Let's go with that. With that individual sect, I really want to see more of that, and that's I think what we're going to get. We're going to get a lot of that intrigue and that that dynamic of them. That's again, I've said before and I'll say again, I would love for an anthology book called Amazons, where it's each one is 3 stories. Each one is one of the 3 different sects. Have Themyscira, Brazil, and then the Mindi.
So one of the interesting pieces as we look at this, I love the artwork in this because there were some really great choices to use like single or, it sounds like an insult. I don't mean it this way. There was a targeted palette, not a limited palette, a targeted palette used for the backgrounds with different shades. So that way the foreground colors pop. And I think it really benefits the style of this particular sequence when they're in the forest. And the characters seem to just jump out. I really love the look because there's something about the pencil work in this that I'm just really drawn to. And it's the background choices have really just expand on that. That sequence where he's like pleading with her boyfriend's pleading with her, and he's got his hand out, and she is saying, "I don't know, I'm feeling strange." And Eros is there, and you see like that pink tone that goes over the sequence when he grabs her hand. It adds this whole, like, there is this magical happening and almost an internal fight, because you see the tear going down her eye. She is struggling with this. I loved the power in that moment. It's such a powerful moment.
Oh, God, yeah. And everything you said about how they kept the very background, on a lot of those stuff, they had a plain background with the multiple panels. Again, all done exactly why you said. That was a conscious choice on their part to make this stuff pop out. And it did such a great job. And if you go the page before that, when I don't even know what their names are yet, but the Amazonian rainforest gods are trying to plead with her to stay. They did the same kind of thing with that blue dark tinge and all that. And again, it had the same kind of effect where the creatures, that little individual panels and all that to get, to really get and draw your attention and make just the energy pop there. I 100% agree with you. This wasn't just a really cool story. This was a beautiful art exploration as well. This is a team. This is an art and writing team that work together to really tell the story. And that's again why, once again, I'm absolutely loving this book. And even then, you flip the page again, and things kind of shift again a little bit, for the Cassie and Artemis sequences.
Yep.
And it needs the shift for them. Because I love those moments, because Artemis is going on with her rules of we're going to partner together, we got anything, and Cassie sees the other Amazon running around, and she's like, let me go exploring on this. And, the periods where they use the blue shading, then the pop of color, blue shading, pop of color. Again, it really added to the action and the sequence and the non-traditional panels in that final fight sequence when the Brazilian Amazons identify herself. No, identify yourself, with a knife to the throat with Artemis right there. That was a really cool physical action sequence, done on one page, multiple non-traditional panels. Beautiful work.
Interesting to see this leading to this sequence with Hera, which I didn't expect. So Hera seems to be driving this ship. And what is Hera after? What is the manipulation that she's trying to do with Yara? I have a funny feeling that Hera is not going to be the one on the up and up in this one. And I love when the gods start entering into the sequences in these Wonder Woman books, because there usually is a layer to it of something that we don't understand. And then the question becomes, is that really Hera even? Because that happens from time to time too. So I can't wait to see where this story's going. Her exploration of this world, like even when she shows up there and her clothes have been changed so that way she has been presented to a goddess in such a way that wouldn't offend. She is a fish out of water. And characters like this, where you get a chance to see the world of the gods through the eyes, I feel like we're journeying with her. And that stuff really, really works.
Yeah, and she's been changed to fit Mount Olympus. And while she looks cool, when it comes down to it, that's not going to be her uniform. She's going to have something that's more personalized for her. And that's the kind of stuff I'm looking forward to seeing what we get. Because, Diana had her uniform, Artemis has hers, Cassie has hers. I want to see what Yara's is going to be. And that's the kind of stuff I'm looking forward to. And like you, I 100% believe Hera is not on the up and up here. Something is going to happen. And I think, again, as we've said, Yara is a good person at her heart. She's going to recognize the BS. She's going to recognize this. I see Hera trying to manipulate Yara, so she's got, once again, she's got her puppet that she can manipulate the way she wants. Diana would never let herself be manipulated. Cassie won't do it, neither would Artemis or any of the others. They're respectful to Hera because she is Hera, but they're not going to be manipulated. She's thinking Yara is going to be vulnerable and gullible enough that she can take advantage of that. And I think that's where we're going to see some of the coolness of Yara come through, where she's going to recognize it and say, hey, this ain't for me, and she's going to be herself. So those are the kind of, again, there's so many stories I want to see come out of this. And I'm like, again, we've got a great writer who we've read a lot of the work that we love. And the art team, again, well, the writer is part of the art team, so that does help. But again, there's still some really cool stuff going on here that I'm looking forward to 4, 5, 6, all the way, annuals and then some, because there's a lot that they can do with this character. That it's so far, first 3 issues, I'm 100% all in on this. I'm digging this so much. I was like, yes.
Yeah, there's something about this story that I've just really, really, the whole presentation of it is really key. And that's what comics do best, right? It's when you've got a team that makes you go, wow, I did not expect this from this book. There's a whole package here. And I can't wait to read more. I'm glad we got a chance to talk about this one. I see us jumping back in and talking about this again in the future, just because I think it's a series that's really, really important that DC's currently doing. Jim, before we wrap up, there's a couple of books I want to shout out really quick. I don't know if you saw this Wonderful Women of the World that was released this week. It's edited by Laurie Hulse Anderson, and apologies for any name butchery there. It's a collection of stories spotlighting women who've accomplished great things. And, it starts with Jeanette Kahn, it starts with Serena Williams, and it goes just through all of these women who have just accomplished unique things. And it's a hardcover collection. I have I'm looking at right now on my iPad, the digital version of it. It's the next thing I'm going to read. I didn't know this was coming. And it's something that I really, really love. The other book that came out is the Batman vs. Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham. I know I mentioned it previously, but that was a release this week, and it's something I am super excited to sit down and read. And I'm also going to journey down and finally read Superman, and the next issue of Superman 78, and the Sandman Universe Lock and Key crossover, which brings our friend Joe Hill back to the DC Universe. And I'm excited to see that Sandman crossover. So there's a lot of good stuff that's out right now that I'm excited to read this week. And they're just some books that I just wanted to shout out that just have me excited at the moment. The one I didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to shout them out as books that maybe people are missing that looked interesting to me.
You filthy criminals.
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love having you part of our show. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address if you prefer to contact us that way. RagingBullets.com is our show website, and that feeds into Twitter. That also feeds into our Facebook fan page. We are proud, as always, to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, so please feel free to join that group. It's where I find all my news, all my commentary. People are posting about blogs and podcasts that they're doing. It's just a great community of people that are out there supporting each other and sharing what's great about these hobbies that we all know and love. So I want to thank everybody who's there and makes that community what it is, because we are proud to be associated with it. The About Us section of the show website is links to us on social media. It's also how you can link with us on gaming platforms and everything else. So we love connecting with you, so please feel free to connect with us those ways. Jim, sponsoring us, as always, is DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. What's going on over at DCBService.com?
Well, we have the Wonder Woman trade for the Afterworlds story arc. It's 50% off, only $12.49. And we have a new limited series, Wonder Woman Evolution, 50% off, only $199. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, as I mentioned, you can pick up the Batman Brave and the Bold Bronze Age Omnibus hardcover, $99.99 regularly, 42% off, only $57.99. This is a great collection. Joker and Harley Criminal Sanity hardcover from Black Label, $34.99 regularly, 42% off, only $20.29. Thank you for DCB Service and InStockTrades.com continuing to support our podcast. Jim, our next episode, we're going to be back and we're going to be talking about Wonder Woman Black and Gold, Superman and the Authority. Before that, though, we're going to have a very special bonus episode that's going to be released midweek where we're going to be talking with the creators behind Life with Althaar, and actually our longtime friend of the show, Eli, who's done our amazing song parodies, including the one that's following this particular closing of the show, is going to be on talking about his character as well in this wonderful podcast. There's links in the show notes to Life with Althaar. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, this is your chance to do it. So please make sure to not only listen to that podcast, but please get the word out, because we all have friends who maybe aren't DC fans. They don't listen to our show, but they're sci-fi fans that you know. They're audio drama fans that you know. As a community, if we could help this podcast by getting the word out, that's something you can do to help us. So if you could please shout this out, tweet it out, get it out on Facebook, Instagram, so whatever social media that you're most comfortable with, get the word out. Even if you're just bringing in a couple people, those couple people are ones that wouldn't have otherwise known about this podcast. So we really appreciate you not only shouting us out, but doing this for our friends as well, because that's what's great about this community. I'm proud to be associated with it. So thank you for all you do in supporting not only us, but the various partners that we've made over the years. We will see you then.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Sean,
we're going to
Jim,
I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's our